Welcome back for another Sins of a Solar Empire 2 video. This video we are going to analyze the new Vasari Warden frigate. This is the new frigate that came out with the 1.4 patch that kind of covers the anti-fighter, anti-corvette, and point defense gap that Vasari was sort of lacking, with only the Defensor and a couple of capital ships and cruisers that had some point defense built in. So this is to match up with the Guardian. This is to match up with the Sentinel on both the Tech and the Advent, to give the Vasari their version of a point defense and flak frigate. So the ship has a supply cost of 5, a build time of 27 seconds, price of 90 metal and 20 crystal. Comes with a base durability of 180, has a base shield points of 535, a armor point of 480 with an armor strength of 48. Hull points is 745. In this video I have an upgrade already on mine just because I was testing, and a base speed of 720. On the ship you will find 3 point defense pulse guns. With each gun has 6 damage with a 2-second cooldown for a total of 3 DPS at base, with a base range of 5100, and 4 light phase missiles that have a 12 damage per turret, 9-second cooldown for a base DPS of 1.3, and 120 pierce with the same range of 5100. So we'll do a real quick look at the placement of each of these. So we'll focus first on the point defense because that's probably the reason most people are getting this. The first point defense is on the front of the ship here. You can see it right here. It has a, where is it, this one? It has, oh, lost it. The point defense on the front follows this arc right here. There is a point defense on the middle of the ship in the top. This one has a 360 arc all the way around. And then there is a third one placed on the bottom that has a almost, let me get a good angle on this one. It's this curve here on the bottom, so it's almost 100% front based, but doesn't quite cover it. So what you'll notice is the front point defense one, so when you're forward facing, has a 180 degree arc. The bottom one just barely does cover over the top, but to get in that sweet spot where you have all 3 point defense acting at one time is going to be extremely difficult, because this looks to be about a 5 degree. So effectively this ship has 2 point defense pulse guns that can shoot at just about any given time. Compare that with the Garda. The Garda has a total of 4 point defenses, but it has a similar issue where it can only shoot really 2 of them in one direction. The other 2 are facing the opposite direction completely. So what those end up doing is they do some damage to fighters, to corvettes that are on the that have gone to the back side of the ship, and don't really contribute to point defense for torpedo or missile shoot downs. So same thing with the Vasari Warden. What the Warden does have that's extra, though, is obviously the light phase missiles. The light phase missiles have a hull of 1, so they can get shot down extremely easy by any other enemy point defense, and effectively don't really exist if they get shot at. But what they do is those phase missiles kind of let you go a little bit head to head with some of the light frigates from the other factions, including even your own in a Vasari mirror match, and they will definitely help you kill off corvettes and fighters and bombers that much quicker. With this ship, we'll talk real quick about the research. The point defense uses the pulse weapons, so you do like getting anything in the point defense, or in the pulse weapon line. As I said, the point defense gun has a 6 damage at base with 2-second cooldown, so getting to 18 gets you almost a 7 on that shot. Getting to the 30% weapon damage gets you to almost 8. So this is where you really get your sweet spot of 7. This is where you'll get your sweet spot of 8. To continue on the point defense, the weapon tracking speed has a 20% bonus and a 15% range with the precise turret servos. One thing you'll need to watch out for when using these for point defense is these ships like to, if there's no corvettes or fighters to shoot at in the general area, they will stay at the outer range because now your point defense has exceeded the range of your missiles, which can be okay if all you're trying to do is point defense. But if something like a long-range frigate is the only available target, your missiles really won't be able to shoot because you're kind of at the edge of your range. Anything that gets closer in of the 5,000, which is substantially a lot of things, will start shooting those phase missiles again. Otherwise, we definitely like the hull regeneration. The one thing I'm going to pull up give me 1 second. I got to pull up the regen. So the hull point restore rate at base is 1.5 hull per second. When you research the hull regeneration in combat, that 1.5 bumps up to about 3.1. So in combat, you're getting 3.1 hull per second. And armor restore is 2.25 per second after being out of combat for 60 seconds. And shield restore rate, the base shield restore rate is 3. By getting the regenerative shielding, you get shield regeneration in combat. That bumps you up to a 5 shield points per second restore rate just by grabbing the regenerative shielding. I'm not going to do the math on the bonuses in hull regeneration or shield regeneration based on these. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But we do like getting all of the hull. We like getting the regenerative shielding. The turn speed is also good. And the flawless armor is also good all the time. These are fairly tanky ships. I believe that they are not quite as tanky as our light frigates. Give me 1 second to pull that up. 745. So the light frigates in comparison have a base durability of 120, a base shield of 660, armor points of 630, the same armor strength of 48, and a base hull point of 910. As I said, I do have a couple of hull upgrades already just to test to see if we could get extra health on the phase missiles in my test, which I was not able to do. For some of the matchups that this ship will run into, I'm going to start with the tech versus Javelus. If you have 10 Wardens, you can effectively point defense 17 Javelus and no missiles get through. If you do 50 Wardens and 50 Javeluses, they also do not get through. That said, the 18 Javeluses is when you start actually getting some of the torpedoes through the point defense on the Wardens. So if you are going even with a tech in supply for supply, you will be able to control the Javelus damage output. And because they do have an 8 supply cost versus your 5 for your Warden, you are definitely winning on the supply side with that. Again, with the tech, I did test the Ogrov, and the point defense on the Warden is able to take out 1 torpedo from a single Ogrov with 10 Wardens. And that was within the 5100 range, so I didn't have buffed up range at that time. I did have the bonus damage up to tier 3 though for the 30% pulse defense, and you just barely kill it before the torpedo gets to any of your ships. So effectively a 500 damage nuke shot by an Ogrov can be point defensed by 10 Wardens. Up against both of the corvettes on the tech side, the Shuriken and the Stilette, the Warden substantially beats both of those at even supply. I ran 80 Shuriken versus 50 Warden, and every single Shuriken died, and I lost a single Warden. Against 50 Stilette versus 40 Warden, which is again equal supply of 200. Every single Stilette dies, and all of the Wardens are at fairly high health. So as a counter to the tech corvette, I would say the Warden is substantially effective. Going into the Vasari matchup against the Canrak, if you do, the test I ran was 100 Canrak versus 100 Warden. As long as your Wardens are within range of the Canrak to shoot point defense from the moment that the torpedoes leave the Canrak's torpedo opening bay, the 100 Wardens effectively shoots down all 100 Canrak torpedoes before they do any damage to a single Warden. That was not with the bonus that the Canraks get with the phase missile charging. I don't believe that this is something that they would be able to catch with their point defense, because I think this ends up getting a pretty highly effective, or I think it gets extra health to do it. But the Warden can counter basically at a 1-to-1 rate against the Canrak. Against the Defensor, the Warden fares just as good as it did against other corvettes. The Defensors themselves did okay, but the Warden substantially outwon on supply, and the same against the Tussarak Raider. The Raider, I think, killed one, and I think the Defensor killed one in a 50 versus 60 matchup for both of them. So I would say that the Warden effectively is able to counter the corvettes from the Vasari, and I don't think it was all that close. In the Advent matchup, same thing with the Advent, the Corvette. Let me pull that one up really quick. Advent, I don't know why I'm blanking on what it's called. The Acolyte. Acolyte gets absolutely obliterated, very similar to the Shuriken Corvette. There's no real bonuses that the Acolyte gets that can fight against the Warden. The one that I think is probably the most relevant is against the Tempest. Ran many tests for the Tempest versus the Warden. For some reason, at 10 supply versus 10 supply, 10 supply of Tempest versus 10 supply of Wardens, the Wardens are able to shoot down every single Tempest missile. As soon as you start going over 12, for some reason, the Wardens are unable to complete the interception of all of the Tempest missiles. I don't know if it's a missile count or a tracking bug where the Wardens choose not to shoot at something because they can't decide which missile to shoot at, since they're both effectively at the same range from the Warden. But what ends up happening is about somewhere between a third and half of the Tempest missiles get through to the Wardens. The bonus that you get as the Warden player is that the Tempest missiles have 0 pierce. So they are effectively doing about 33% damage to you. So there's really, I mean, you substantially beat them because your phase missiles do over 50% to the Tempests. You can shoot 2 phase missiles forward, and you effectively end up out DPSing the Tempest quite handily. One of the items, actually I forgot one item, Shield Burst. If you're playing the Vasari Alliance, the Shield Burst cooldown is 30 seconds, and the restore percentage is 50%. So definitely recommend picking up Shield Burst for the Vasari Alliance players. And then as far as missiles, you do get the phase missile damage upgrades. I don't think that these are necessary for you to get. If you're getting phase missile upgrades in general, this is not the reason. This ship is not the reason to get them. The Canwreck is a reason to get them. If you are heavy on Desolators, you should have them, or if you're heavy on Bombers, I recommend getting them. But for Wardens, the damage is already so low at 1.4 that I don't see any point in researching specifically for that. So again, just kind of summarizing, the Warden definitely has a role to fulfill for the Vasari. I think that it has been a great success. That it complements the Defensor quite well. It will protect from fighters, bombers, things with corvettes and strike craft. And I think for the most part, we'll be able to do effective point defense for the Vasari faction. The one thing that I did not get a chance to test was against fighters and bombers. I think that against fighters and bombers, I think I'd be shocked if they didn't substantially wipe the floor with them. So I'm actually going to do a couple of tests with that right now. We'll do it live. And trader, carrier cruiser, and we'll drop a bunch in there. So we can run a test. It looks like they're quite effectively able to kill most things here. You'll see that the missiles don't shoot at the fighters. The missiles are shooting at the carriers here. So the only thing that is doing point defense is the actual point defense. But they're quite quickly clearing the sky of fighters and bombers. And I believe that they're also intercepting the bombers' torpedoes as they come in. Let's see if I can cap one for health reasons. So that they have 1 health, so they get shot once, and they'll get wiped out. So I don't even think I have the ratios very well aligned here, because I think these are 14 supply and these are 5. So the Wardens will clear the skies. They'll intercept the torpedoes of bombers as they're coming in. And I think that just in general, these are going to be more effective against fighters and bombers than the Defensors will. I know Defensors can be quite good at countering stuff like the Canwreck or the Javelus, and in my last video, the Tempest, where they were, as long as you have a greater than a 2-to-1 ratio, you'll point defense all the Tempest missiles down. But for the most part, I think that the Warden's going to be a effective ship at intercepting the torpedoes, intercepting the fighters, and keeping the fighters and bombers off of the backs of our capital ships. One thing I definitely did not get a chance to test is the capital ships with higher health torpedoes or missiles. The tech capital ships, I believe, have a max hull of 25. So let's do let's quickly check this. Capital trader siege capital ship. So we'll see how it does point defense. So I have 8 left. And it's clearing all of these. Let's check the health. Yeah, they have 19, which means that they've had some upgrades on the AI side, because these should have a hull strength of 25. Do I have that right? No. Medium torpedo, 15. So these should have a 15 hull instead. And they should have a base armor of 25, which means that the AI I've been testing against has researched the armor and the strength, or the armor strength and the hull. But as you can see, 8 of these, which is about 40 supply, is completely countering every single one of these missiles as they come out, and I don't even think it's close. Yeah, they're instantly popping. Maybe we'll see as the Gauss cannon kills some of them, but it looks to be much quicker, more effective here. And then while I'm thinking about it, I'll run some Tempest tests, just for the, where is it here? So we got 5 versus 7. These are probably almost all dead anyway. But as you can see, 5 and 7, you cancel out every single one. Where's my low health one?
Where do you want me?
6 versus 5, you cancel them all out. We'll go 5 versus 5. It cancels them all out. As soon as you start going into higher numbers, the Vasari, for some reason, the point defense just will start missing or start choosing not to catch all of them. They eventually start getting through, and you start taking damage. And like I said, you're only taking 33% damage, but for some reason it doesn't catch them all. And I'm assuming it's either cooldown or tracking speed related, or just the fact that tracking might not be aligned when trying to receive the target. So you do eventually win this fight, I believe, but it's a little bit annoying knowing that this is the anti-missile ship and it's somehow failing its responsibility of catching missiles. Let's do a quick Advent. I'll catch the let's do, no, not that one. Not the carrier. Yeah, we'll do the carrier. Why not? Go away. Go away. So the missiles, as you can see again, the missiles aren't shooting at the fighters. It's all point defense going towards the fighters. But 14 very effectively clears out the fighters with the point defense. So maybe we got too many. Let's cancel that out. We'll drop another one in. And I don't know if they're skilling anything. Doesn't look like it. But essentially 50 supply versus 50 supply. And it's pretty close. Let's do another one. Drop a bunch of those. Because oh, that's why these are tech fighters, because that's what I'm fighting against. Fun things that you learn in debug mode. So you do clear the skies quite well, even with only like 25 supply. You'll end up clearing 1 capital ship's worth of fighters and bombers pretty quick, which I think is a good thing to learn. It's not interesting. We're not killing the bombers. We're just killing their torpedoes. But those are the kinds of things that the Warden's going to be good at. It's definitely going to be effective at shooting out the torpedoes and the bombs, and especially on the tech. I believe that the 2 Titans use the large torpedoes, which would have a max hull of 25 instead of 15. I believe the capital ships and the Javelis use the health of 15, and then the Titans would use 25 max hull. Either way, we should be doing 7 or 8 DPS. Or I'm sorry, 7 or 8 damage per point defense shot at this point, as long as you get to level 3 on the enhanced pulse emissions. So you should, for the most part, be killing most of the missiles that end up coming out. The Advent large torpedoes have 45 health, which should be coming from the Titans as well. Then the medium ones should have 15, which that should come out of stuff like the Rapture. So let's grab that real quick. Colony Generic large torpedo, Loyalist Titan. Siege. Why am I not seeing the capital ship? There it is. Well, that'll work. I think for our tests. Let's slow it way down. So that's got 19 health. So these are the medium missiles. Medium missiles for the Advent got buffed in this last patch, so they actually have Pierce on them now and have a hull point of 15 base. And as you can see, upgrading hull actually does give you hull point bonus or bonus health. So getting, like, this is just a side note for something like the Canrack. The Canrack starts with hull points of 9 and armor of 15. By getting an extra, in this case, 20%, 24% health, I think you move up to 11 hull points. Things like that. So just some nice little tidbits of knowledge. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the point defense tracking speed. So one thing I was able to pull game files up. The pitch speed and the yaw speed of the point defense cannons. Let's see if we can actually track it here. They turn quite rapidly on this ship. I don't believe that they're this rapid on some of the other ships. So in particular, I'm going to check the anti-fighter frigate. I think it's this one. I'm going to check the Garda really quick. Is it physics, hyperspace, weapon? Nope, wrong one. Frigate, light autocannon. Yes, light autocannon. So the Garda has a pitch speed, yaw speed of 40. So it's basically doing a 40 angle sweep every second. And in comparison, the point defense on this ship has a 125 speed. And let's do the Vasari. See if I can find the oppressor. Cruiser, heavy cruiser, point defense. Pulling it up on my other screen. Okay, so the point defense on the oppressor is the same pitch speed, yaw speed. So one good thing to know, these point defense pulse turrets are going 125 degrees per second, so that should be about here all the way across, which is fairly rapid for point defense weapons in this game. So you see this one's tracking. See how quick it's moving around to point defense. Here it is. It's really looking around at those fighters. It's really looking around at these fighters here, then deciding to turn and shoot at the torpedoes as they come out. So again, I believe the Wardens are going to be quite good. I think they should be mixed into just about every single fleet that you are planning on building, especially with the way the fighter meta is developing. You probably won't see too many corvettes coming out unless you're fighting a tech with a lot of SOVAs. They might start getting the missile corvettes out. The good news is that, like I said, I did test that one, and in a ratio of even supply, where it was 50 versus 40, 50 tech missile corvettes versus 40 Wardens, the Wardens essentially won just based on phase missiles alone. The point defense was clearing all of the torpedoes in the air as they were getting shot, and then while I think there's like a 15-second cooldown on the tech missile corvette. So for those 13-12 seconds where there's no torpedoes in the air, they were just eating the corvettes alive, so it wasn't all that close. So make sure you add Wardens into your fleet. Make sure you've got the right ratios if you're trying to intercept all the missiles. Otherwise, you'll just have some missiles captured and you can just out-damage them with everything else. So that's all I've got for the video. Please leave any comments if you think I've got something wrong or you'd like to discuss some other strategies or other matchups. Happy to answer questions. And as always, many people know better than me, so please put that information below. And we'll see you on the next video soon.